This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Good morning and much thanks for being with us on UBC TV this morning. I'm Robert Chirabonyo. Welcome back from the agenda, Julie and of course Dr. Patricia, on issues of corruption, wealth declaration, and now we are going to be discussing something very interesting, and that is Uganda will be joining the rest of the world to celebrate International Labor Day. And I have two gentlemen with me in studios. That is Isaiah Masiga, who is the head internal employment at the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. My name is Isaiah Masiga. I'm from the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development, and I'm the head of internal employment in the Department of Employment Services. I'm happy to be here.
And on the other side, I have Vigirimana Emmanuel, who is the chairperson, NOTU Legal Affairs Committee, member of the Industrial Court of Uganda, and General Secretary Uganda Civil Society Organizations Workers Union. Good morning, Vigirimana, and welcome.
Thank you, my brother and friend. As already introduced, my name is Vigirimana Emmanuel. I am a workers representative. I am an ordinary daily servant of this country. I am very, very, very excited to be here. I come from the National Organization of Trade Unions, NOTU, where by His grace I'm serving as the chairperson of the Legal Affairs Committee. I am also a member of the Industrial Court of Uganda representing workers. At the same time, I'm the General Secretary of Uganda Civil Society Organizations Workers Union. I'm extremely excited to be here this morning to speak to fellow workers across the country.
Now, these are the people I'm going to be with discussing issues regarding workers. And I want to begin with someone from government. That is the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. Now, we know we are going to be joining the rest of the world on 1st May to celebrate or commemorate or observe International Labor Day. But if we are to discuss issues regarding labor, to begin with from the ministry's perspective, how far have we gone as far as improving conditions of workers in this country without a minimum wage?
That's very interesting, but thank you. You know, as a ministry responsible for workers, but not only that, a ministry responsible for all human beings in the entire spectrum of life. We are responsible for children, we are responsible for the elderly, we are responsible for the youth, responsible for women, for men like you, and for everyone. Our core mandate is ensuring that workers have dignity in the workplace, to ensure that they have access to, justice in the workplace, access to decent and productive employment, and many others. So as a ministry, of course, one of our core responsibilities on policies, establishment of or development of policies that provide that conducive environment for the workers to have that free atmosphere of interaction with employers. So regarding the minimum wage, of course, is a question that is always coming up, but before you even talk about the minimum wage, we are discussing a number of other issues, first of all, because a minimum wage is just a standard for payment of workers, where you're going to say each worker should not be paid less than this amount of money. But before we even discuss the payment bit of it, we are discussing the other bigger issues at a macro level. How are the policies? We are discussing issues of accessibility. We are discussing issues of quality and quantity of jobs. Are there jobs before we even talk about the payment? So government is putting emphasis on a number of things. And of course, the discussion for the minimum wage is not something that was dropped. We are discussing the minimum wage on a daily basis. And my brother, if you attended or watched the International Labor Day for 2025, the issue of minimum wage was brought up by His Excellency the President. And one of the directives we have had from the cabinet is that we must fast track the establishment of the Labor Advisory Board and the Minimum Wages Council to ensure that this advises government on what kind of procedure we can take to have a minimum wage. And of course, when I was here last time, you remember when we were discussing the issues of employment towards the last year's Employers Conference, I talked to you about the National Employment Policy and National Employment Strategy. I have mentioned about the policies, and I've told you that our policy pushes this idea of the minimum wage. And we have presented this already to Cabinet. And Cabinet has no problem with the minimum wage. However, the advice we have is that we must fast track the advisory board and the minimum wages council, because this will come together and advise government on how to roll out this. And government is fast tracking this, and soon we shall be rolling out this entire program. Yeah, thank you.
Now, that said, hope for the minimum wage, which is an issue that I know many workers are looking at, and I always discuss here on the show. I give an example that there's a place where I move through and I see young men and women leaving factories every day. They are there at 8, they leave at 5. And one time I stopped by and interviewed some, asked them, but how much do you earn? And we have a country that earn as 3,000 per day. They're not having a monthly pay, but 3,000 per day. Now, and this is the most productive age, the youth. So just see what darkness befalls such people if nothing much is done. So that's the craving for the minimum wage. But good, there is work in progress. Now, coming back to NOTU, civil society organizations, the union that brings other unions all together. But briefly, for my viewer to get a better perspective, Ministry of Gender Labor, that one knows its government. What does NOTU do?
Thank you very much, my brother, and our viewers outside there on this national broadcaster. National Organization of Trade Unions, NOTU, is a labor federation. I need to state that there are 2 labor federations in this country, and we have 57 registered labor unions under these 2 labor federations. NOTU, being the oldest, has 38 labor unions, and NOTU is under the able leadership of Mr. Okero Musa as the Chairman General, Mr. Bijirwa Richard as the Secretary General, and Mr. Mawuku Richard Moses as the Treasurer General. Then the rest of us, 38, as I have already stated, are under this umbrella organization. Of course, we are established under the provisions of the Labor Unions Act, and then the sister federation is Central Organization of Free Trade Unions, COFTU, which is the youngest federation. Our core business basically is to look after the welfare, the well-being of workers in this country, and we do all this under the supervision of our mother ministry, and I'm glad I'm here with my brother and friend, that is the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. And whatever we do, they are always out to ensure that we are also in compliance with the various pieces of law which provide for how we do our work. And precisely the Registrar of Labor Unions, who is substantively the commissioner in charge of labor, is always looking through in whatever we do.
Now that said, you look at the welfare of workers in this country. Bijirimana, this is where I want to bring you in. Your analysis, if you are to talk of a worker in Uganda, how would you describe their welfare?
Thank you, my brother and our viewers. Yes, it is a journey that we've walked and we continue walking. I want to appreciate government indeed, that they have allowed the workers of this country to exercise their rights, going right away from the various provisions in the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, for example, under Article 28 and 40 of the Constitution of the Republic, talks about the worker's right and freedom to form or join a union of his or her choice. And like I already said, it is under these different unions that workers are allowed to join, associate, and by so doing, their rights are recognized. Their rights are observed at their workplaces. But of course, I have to state, as I have already said anyway, that there is still a lot of work to be done. But so far, I would say that if it is a journey of about 100 kilometers, probably we have walked around 50, 60 kilometers. But we still want to invite each and every worker, starting with friends at UBC, friends in the various sectors, both informal, private, and public sectors, to get on board. Let us join hands. We have always said, and it is indeed our slogan in the trade union movement, that we stand together in solidarity. We need to invite each and every worker to look out for their respective labor union, join, become members, and it is under such an arrangement that their rights can ably be protected by those respective unions. But so far, there is some good progress registered.
Good progress brings me back to the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. And now, when we talk about rights of workers in this country, and I know Ministry of Gender, we have very good policies. There's so much goodness on paper in this country, but then the journey of implementation. Many workers in this country today have no working contracts. Many, they can be chased anytime. Many workers in this country today, even payment is a challenge, but they're working. As the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, to be more particular, as the person in charge of internal employment in this country, what steps are being put in place to improve and uphold the rights of workers in this country?
Thank you so much. I want to differ a little bit from your earlier statement that we have many policies on paper, but not in practice. I think I want to put it categorically clear that the policies we have are in play. And that's why you see that because you had just earlier confirmed that every morning you see people moving to and from work. That is a sign that government has created a conducive atmosphere for people to work. Otherwise, they wouldn't be walking to and from work. So the first thing, like I said, is access to jobs. And then working towards ensuring that these jobs are decent for them. And my brother here has just mentioned about solidarity. As government, we don't work alone. Government works with its partners. We work with, under the tripartite, you know, we have a tripartite charter. And that, under that tripartite arrangement, we work with our friends here, the members of the workers' organizations, which is basically the National Organization of Trade Unions, and then the Confederation or the Central Organization of Free Trade Unions, the COFTU and NOTU. But besides that, we also work with the Federation of Employers, which is called the Federation of Uganda Employers. So together with all the other partners like the civil society organizations, we form a team. And this team monitors the welfare of the workers. We conduct regular workplace inspections to ensure that these workers, especially the ones you see every morning, the ones who walk to and fro, in the factories and industrial parks. We inspect these workplaces on a regular basis to check the conditions and also to involve and demand the employers to ensure that these people are protected. Now we have two categories of workers in Uganda. Number one, we have workers with contracts like you. I am very sure you're working here because there are workers who are working in the formal settings and then workers who work in the informal setting. Mainly those in the formal setting work with contracts and they are highly protected. Our emphasis is on ensure, because one of the characteristics of our labor market today is informality. Informal characteristic of a labor market involves people not having contracts. And one of the things the president has emphasized is ensuring that employees or workers are put on contracts. And I think this is a discussion that we have raised even in the revised national employment policy that is before cabinet. It is a discussion that we have raised in a number of forums, and it actually forms the basis for our International Labor Day celebration. And one of the things we are looking at during this year's International Day celebration is promoting competitiveness of the labor force. Competitiveness means we have to ensure that workers have a dignified working environment. Those, especially the vulnerable workers, sometimes it is very hard to refer to some workers as vulnerable. But of course, we have some categories of workers, like the persons with disabilities. We must urge the employers to provide this conducive environment, safe spaces for all the workers to work. And of course, it's not only about the contracts, but it's about providing a general safe working environment for everyone. So, and I want to assure you that government is on track on ensuring that workers have a safe space where they can, because for those that have issues, we provide an open door. We work closely with our workers' organizations, and we have a fully fledged department responsible for industrial relations. So in case there are issues within the workplace, we always handle, as government, we support the workers to go through, to maneuver through all these challenges. Even if a worker does not have a contract, it does not mean government has neglected you because you have no contract, but because you are moving towards formalization. There are many workers that have worked without contracts, but they have transitioned to the formal kind of environment where they have the contracts. So we have so many, issues at play that government is dealing with. We have categories of workers like the domestic workers who work in people's homes where it is very difficult to know what is happening in those homes. But government is still on, on track, ensuring that these people have a better working environment. Because even your home is a workplace. So we have to engage all people. That's why we are inviting everyone to join us during these International Day Labor celebrations, because this is a very important day for the workers. It is a very important day for workers to express themselves and also to hear what kind of government policies that are in place, to hear from the fountain of honor, what is he saying about issues of workers. So that's what we are doing as government, and therefore we want to invite everyone, those that can be physically present and those that can watch us online, because this is a very important day for everyone. Yes, thank you so much. So
well, before we go to the day, still on workers' rights, now I want to bring in Vigirimana here. Trade unions play a vital role, and we've heard from government where he said we make sure workers' rights are upheld. But Vigirimana, I know very well that there are many organizations where you don't mention trade unions. There are many hotels, there are many industries where you cannot even enter the doors. You're closed at the gates as not to. Yet we know that that is one, when workers unionalize, hope I've used the right, pronounce it very well, and come together, it is strength. And I know you're aware.
Yes.
But these are the people. If them are still being blocked and locked back out of the gates, are workers' rights upheld in this country?
Thank you very much for this wonderful question. And without appearing to be contradicting with what my colleague has just said, yes, laws are in place, very conducive environment given to us as trade unions and workers leaders, generally by government. But indeed, there are some stubborn employers who either willingly, either knowingly or unknowingly don't not cooperate with us as workers leaders. To that extent, you will go, or you are sending an office assistant to deliver a letter to workplace X or Y, asking for a meeting with management and thereafter with workers, and this entrepreneur, this investor is saying, wait a minute, who are you? You are trade unions? Get out of here. There are such isolated employers here and there. I do not want to hold government at ransom and take it that government is responsible for that.
What does the labor law say? Workers have the right to associate. Now, how are you saying you don't want to hold government when we have a law? Because my guest here earlier said he doesn't agree with me. When I said to have good policies, we have good laws, but implementation is the challenge. Now, this is the evidence.
Of course, thank you, my brother, and our viewers. As a result of such behaviors and so many others that I may not go into because of limitations in terms of time, government went ahead through this tripartite arrangement and put in place the Industrial Court of Uganda. So many stubborn employers who have been caught on the wrong side of the law, as you have said, have found themselves dragged by trade union leaders, trade union organizations, and even some have been dragged to the industrial court by their workers or those who were formerly engaged by those stubborn, in quotes, employers. And indeed, as I said in my opening statement, that it is a journey we are still walking. Precisely, the environment is conducive. As I said, that exploiting the concept of solidarity, the principle of solidarity, I want to once again invite each and every worker outside there to look out for a sector union and become part and parcel of that union. And it is from that arrangement that we shall be able to get together and we engage with the employers to ask them to recognize these workers' rights. And by so doing, we are going to become strong and stronger. That does not right away what you are alluding to, what I have already said, and even when I say that, I don't want to sound as if I'm contradicting my colleague. The laws and the policies are there. And sincerely speaking, the environment is conducive. But there are those stubborn employers. But I have already said that government working under the tripartite arrangement has put in place the Industrial Court of Uganda, where I'm privileged by His Grace to be a member. And this Industrial Court is doing a very tremendous job in ensuring...
An ordinary worker, quickly, a quick one, successfully prosecute. This is an investor who came in the country, has a factory, I'm an ordinary, low levels. Can we see this go through, or are we still seeing cases of big fish industry against the other in the industrial court?
Sincerely speaking, this is a very unique court. I want to use this opportunity to appreciate government. I want to use this opportunity to appreciate our line ministry, Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development, and of course the judiciary as well. This court has been able to prosecute matters concerning violation of workers' rights, irrespective of the caliber of the affected worker. Working at no cost, file in your documents, and the matter will be heard. Can I even inform the viewers that it is in the Industrial Court of Uganda, which is at the level of the High Court, that an indigent worker who probably does not have the money to hire an advocate to represent him or her, who probably does not belong to a labor union, that this labor union will come and represent him, who probably does not even know that there exists a labor center like not where he come from. This very court still allows this indigent worker to come and self-represent himself or herself. It is very amazing when you walk to the Industrial Court of Uganda.
Well, that said very well. Allow me now to go for a very short break. When I return, we'll look at the International Labor Day celebrations. Where is it going to be? We'll analyze the theme. But also, are there reasons for Ugandan workers to celebrate when we return?
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
On his 52nd birthday, General MK invites you for a charity run. The run will be held on 26th April 2026 at the Kololo Ceremonial Grounds starting at 6 a.m. Get yourself a kit using these MTN and Airtel payment platforms. Run for charity, run for hope.
Run for charity, run for hope.
Every Wednesday, live in our studios in the heart of Kampala.
We have to change the political culture in this country, really. Who has bewitched Ugandans?
I want to assure you, as government, we shall do whatever it takes to ensure that Ugandans are safe.
We have conversations that have analysis, explanation.
This law society, this union of theirs, because they want a job everywhere, they want to be this, they want to be that, they want... No. We know it's a union.
You cannot be making a road, bitumen grade 1, in Congo for 5 billion.
But not every truth is fact, and not every fact is truth.
The argument that the General Court Martial is responsible for peace and stability is without basis, either in law or in fact.
We have been told how Napoleon was a great orator. Now, Napoleon cannot help me get food. They told me combine harvest in Saskatchewan. I don't know where Saskatchewan is. This is a geography we're taught. Instead of teaching me how to preserve Mabera forest, they're teaching me about Rhineland. This is a problem we got. We cannot run away from it.
Right now, you hear very disgusting stories of members of parliament. Instead of discussing the details of loans, they ask for their cuts.
Every Wednesday, 10 p.m. on your public broadcaster.
Broadcaster, UBC, inspiring Uganda. Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda Extra.
Welcome back from that break, and thank you so much for being on UBC TV. I'm Robert Chirabo Nyonyintono, and with me I have Isaiah Masiga, who is the head of Internal Employment, Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development, with whom we are discussing quite a number of issues regarding the welfare of workers in this country. And I have Bijirimana Emmanuel, who is the chairperson, NOTU Legal Affairs Committee, member of the Industrial Court of Uganda, and General Secretary, Uganda Civil Society Organization Workers Union. Now, I promised my viewer that from the break we are going to be looking at first, what is there for Ugandan workers to celebrate? yesterday is joining the rest of the world to commemorate, to celebrate. What is there for the Ugandan worker?
Thank you. Thank you, my brother, and thank you, our viewers. We have quite a lot to celebrate as Uganda. If I would pick from the words of His Excellency the President, he always states that in 1986, when he came into power, a number of things were not in place. And actually, the jobs we see today were not there before. A lot has been done by government to create that conducive environment for job creation. Number one, government has put in a good policy to attract foreign direct investments. Foreign direct investments in form of allowing foreigners or foreign investors to come into the country, invest from here. For us to, avoid having goods and services produced in a different country. And number two, to also limit the importation of goods that we could produce from here. So, in so doing, if we establish these workplaces here and allow foreigners to come and operate from within, more jobs are created. And I'm sure you will also agree with me that when you move, like you said in your opening remarks, you see a number of people moving to factories, to industrial parks. That alone tells you that there is something government is doing to favor the common person, or the wananchi, as we always say. So, the worker has a lot to celebrate, because celebrating the International Labour Day is not just a tradition. It's not just a tradition of us meeting and then we talk about what we want to do, but we are celebrating the achievements. We are celebrating the fact that the workers have protection from, they have people who can represent them, like the workers' organizations that are very vocal. Like my brother here from Noto has just told you, the industrial court is there to support you, and you don't even need to go there with a lawyer. And maybe the other thing my brother had also not mentioned is that before you even get to the industrial court, because the industrial court is the last bit, the last stage of your process for solving your workplace challenge. We have labor officers and labor offices in most of the districts across the country. We have these labor officers who handle issues at a local level, at the district level. You don't even need to have a disagreement with your employer, and then tomorrow you're in the industrial court. That's not how things work. You will go through a process. You will go to the labor officer, explain your issues. And these are the things that we explain during the Labor Day celebrations, because celebrations for the International Labor Day is not particularly on the day of the celebration, but it is a whole period of time when we keep celebrating and telling workers what they are supposed to do. And I know we shall be going into that session later. But labor officers have a big role they are playing at the district level. And even at the central level here at the Ministry of Gender, I've told you, we have a department responsible for labor and industrial relations and productivity. We have a department that is responsible for employment services, where I come from, where our role is basically to ensure that you have access to a decent job. And when you get there and you have a challenge, you have another department responsible for industrial relations. You're disagreeing with your employer. For me, I put you into the job, but you're having a challenge with your employer. The other department is going to pick it up from there. We have a department that is responsible for occupational safety and health. I have put you there as the head of internal employment, a person responsible to ensuring that you have access to the job. But then you reach there, the workplace is not conducive. there is a person responsible for your safety and health at the workplace. So that's all a government process. But also if you disagree, and your case has been brought to the labor officer, we have a process of hearing your case. We have the mediation stage. We also have the arbitration stage. We have the conciliation stage. And if all those three fail, that's when we shall say, okay, we have taken all these processes and things are not seeming not to be working out. There is no formal agreement that is being reached. Then we say, okay, let's now forward your case to the industrial court. And that's when the industrial court will pick it up from there. And like my brother said, the industrial court hears cases of everyone, both employers and workers. But even if you're a worker, like a domestic work, for instance, and this I want to put it clearly for all the workers who are there, because sometimes when we're talking about workers, some people think they are not workers. They think the people who are working are you and me who are here wearing suits. A worker is a worker and is entitled to the same rights as enshrined in the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, and is also entitled to the rights as spelled out in the Employment Act 2006. So whatever happens to you in the workplace, whether in someone's home, whether in the bar, you are there as a bar attendant, whether you work in a factory, for instance, and you have a challenge, you are a worker, please go and meet the labor officer who is within your area of jurisdiction and explain your issues. And if things do not work, the Minister of Gender always picks it up from there. The labor officer can also refer the case and say, let the Minister of Gender also hear this case. Or if the worker is not happy with the process the complaint is taking, they can always seek for redress from the Minister of Gender, and the Minister of Gender will help them. So there is a lot the worker is going to celebrate. The worker should celebrate that there are these processes, there is an environment for them to express themselves, and there is a possibility for them to have access to decent jobs, both within the country and even out of the country. Yeah.
Now, well said, all seems rosy, but let me bring in the man that represents workers. What are the outstanding challenges?
Thank you very, very, very much. One of them is the absolute law on minimum wages that is still making us spend sleepless nights. I'm glad when you're introducing the program, you talked about the same, and my colleague also commented about it extensively. I should use this opportunity to inform our viewers that on 30th of April 2025, the workers' leaders of this country and the two federations, NOTU and COFTU, as well as the Federation of Uganda Employers, had a very cordial and successful meeting with His Excellency the President at State House, Entebbe. And one of the issues that we discussed, we presented to him and we got his comments, was about minimum wage. And like my brother said, he said, well, let's put in place whatever it takes so that we can now have this law in place. It's been a very, very, very old matter that has disturbed us as workers' leaders and workers generally in this country, but I think we are about to come to the conclusion of the same. Before I came here, I had not gotten hold of our leader, Mr. Richard Bijirwa, but we had expressed interests of once again interfacing with His Excellency the President as workers' leaders before the D-Day, that is before May 1st, which is the International Labour Day, so that we can have yet another conversation and present to him some of those issues, so that on that day we indeed have a reason as workers' leaders and workers generally in this country to celebrate. The other problem that we still face up to tomorrow is the failure by employers to recognize workers, to allow them enjoy, exercise their rights as embedded both in the Constitution of the Republic of Uganda and the various pieces of legislation, including the Labour Unions Act, the Employment Act, to mention but a few. as I had also commented about the same a short while ago, there are some stubborn employers who up to tomorrow still resist, still do not want workers to unionize an act which is contrary to the various provisions of the law. And I want to use this opportunity to request those employers to allow us as trade unions access these workplaces, but also allow the workers they're employing to really freely join labor unions of their choices, because it is indeed one of their rights that they are supposed to enjoy. Then, of course, the other challenge that we are grappling with is the kind of jobs that we get. Some are decent, we appreciate the ministry, the policies are indeed very good, but there are some isolated cases whereby the kinds of employment, the kinds of jobs that our workers are being given are really not decent. And working with the ministry, the respective departments, we are trying to ensure that really these jobs become decent. Also, as a matter of emphasis, the Federation of Uganda Employers, FUE, is also working closely with trade unions in this country, and wherever they have their membership, they also tell them, look, it is important to recognize trade unions, it is important to allow workers to join their unions of their choices. And like I said, it is a journey. We've been walking and we continue walking. But there is also another very big monster that we are finding as workers' leaders. There is this concept, I think, that started way back around COVID time of Gambanogu. You are a trade union leader, you struggle and finally you're allowed to access the workplace. You are into the managing director's office or the CEO, the human resources office. You have introduced yourself and you are asking him to give you audience, and you discuss issues to do with workers' rights. And this person is telling you, wait a minute, before I give you audience, first speak to General so-and-so. First speak to Afande so-and-so. First speak to, you know, this person. And to us, we are like, wait a minute, what are you saying? I am here as a result of the various provisions of the law. I am here to tell you that I represent these workers and it is their right to see me. I speak to them and they become members of the union. But for you, you are telling me that before we exploit the provision, we exploit the provisions of the law, that I should first speak to Gambanogu. Who is this Gambanogu? And indeed, it has become a very, 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 very big problem in some workplaces. And I want to use this opportunity to call upon those employers who fall in that category to stop immediately. Less than that, we are also going to drag them to court, because as I have already stated, various provisions in the Labor Unions Act allow us to access workplaces as trade union leaders. They allow us to access workers, and if an employer comes out to block us, to stop us, not to allow them, that will mean that his or her actions contravene those provisions in the law, and is subject of being taken to court for prosecution. But we have always wanted to first explore avenues of dialoguing and talking to each other, so that at the end of the day, we don't antagonize business at workplaces. And the last one to mention is this traditional thinking that is in the minds of the stubborn employers, who think that for us as trade union leaders and workers leaders generally in the country are troublemakers.
Dating way back your history.
There are those who think that we are troublemakers, that if allowed to come to workplaces, sensitize workers, and they become members of various unions, that workers are going to lay down their tools. And I also want to use this opportunity to speak to the employers that it is not the case. Leave around the history. And of course, the history speaks for itself. All this used to happen because of the way workers were being treated. But today, as a result of this understanding that is between the tripartite partners, workers' leaders, government, and the Federation of Uganda Employers, we really no longer use this work method. But I want to state once again that if we are pushed on the wall, it is one of the means we use to ensure that our members enjoy their rights.
Well, I must cut you short at that, and we look at the day and the events. Where is the day going to be? People in Buyikwe, but also the theme, and I'll give that to Isaiah.
All right, thank you very much, and to our viewers, the day is here. The International Labor Day celebrations is going to be in Buyikwe district. And it is, of course, celebrated every 1st of May. The dates do not change because that is the International Day. It's going to be on Friday, and all of us are going to be in Buyikwe, and the venue is Nkoyoyo Primary School grounds. That's where all of us are going to converge, the workers, the employers, government, civil society organizations, and all the stakeholders. And maybe just to mention about the theme. The theme for this year's Labor Day celebration is safeguarding Uganda's progress, empowering the workforce, and promoting decent work for competitive enterprises. That's the theme. This theme has been carefully selected, looking at a number of issues of labor competitiveness in terms of productivity, for instance. Because, like I had mentioned earlier, government is on course, is on track in establishing the National Productivity and Competitiveness Center. And this Productivity Center is basically to track the productivity per hour or productivity of the entire labor force. If a worker goes to work in a factory for 8 hours, what is their level of productivity, let's say per hour? So we do those productivity measurements to understand before we even talk about the minimum wage, because for countries that have been successful in establishing their minimum wage, they have looked at the productivity of the entire workforce. What happens when a worker comes to work? Are they only sitting on their laptops and doing chatting on TikTok and so on for 8 hours, or per hour they sit in that office, they are producing something? And number two, we are looking at promoting decent work. Decent, because you have talked about workers without contracts. So this is an issue that we have to continue discussing to ensure that workers have access to decent jobs and their workplaces as safe as possible. Number three, we talked about progress towards empowering workers. And my brother here from the Workers Union has been, the Workers Organization,
Well, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you, Isaiah Masiga, who is the head of International Employment Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development.